So everyone around the country, pretty much, especially in two particular places, are talking about the Penn State head coaching job, James Franklin getting fired on Sunday. And the very next day, the Matt Rhule press conference in Lincoln, Nebraska was maybe a little tense, but he kind of claimed that he wasn't going anywhere. But that conversation's going to keep going. So I decided here at NTV in Nebraska, I needed to reach back into my hometown area to get some expertise from somebody who knows a little bit more about Penn State than I do. Fortunately, I found Austin Bechtold. He is the producer of the Pomp and Joe show at 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. And he also, maybe more importantly in this particular instance, writes for Nittany Sports Now. So he knows all about Penn State. Austin, thank you for coming out from behind the glass and having a few minutes for me today.
Yeah, man, it's great to be with you. Great to talk some Penn State football, some Big Ten football in general, and always good to talk to a fellow Pittsburgh Yinzer resident.
There you go. Absolutely. So on our side of things, we're taping this on Thursday. Just in, Matt Rhule was on Pat McAfee today, kind of, sort of, I guess, saying he's not going anywhere, at least somewhat vehemently. Who knows? It's all coach talk, maybe to some people. What are things looking like out in Pennsylvania when it comes to the Penn State coaching job, and what's your feel on the ground there?
Yeah, basically say any name, and they have probably been discussed at Penn State. Whether it be Urban Meyer has been thrown out there. Should the first call be to Nick Saban? I think the more realistic candidates, obviously Rhule is one that mainly comes to mind. He went to Penn State. He met his wife at Penn State, like he mentioned, how much he loves Penn State, his relationship with Pat Kraft. That kind of seems like the most obvious pick, but is it the right fit for Penn State, given Matt Rhule's record against top 25 opponents? That was one reason why James Franklin was ultimately let go at Penn State, and Pat Kraft, the AD, said it's not just a three-game thing and a three-game reason as to why Franklin was relieved. I mean, 0-11 against top 10 teams for Matt Rhule is not something that Penn State fans look at very fondly. They do like the background and how he could fit into the culture. Rhule has been brought up. Curt Cignetti at Indiana. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He used to coach at James Madison. Very successful career there before ultimately going to Indiana. Despite being 64, I think Cignetti would be welcome with open arms. I mean, everywhere he's gone, he's rebuilt the program and he's done well. Joe Brady is another name that was thrown out there. The Pegula family has donated a lot of money to Penn State. Their name is on the ice hockey rink. And Joe Brady works on the staff with the Buffalo Bills, owned by the Pegula family. So there are a lot of dots to be connected. Those are probably the three, in my mind, that stand out the most. But I don't think that Rhule would ultimately be the number one choice. He's definitely not the number one choice for the fan base.
You dig a little bit more into that. What are you hearing from people when it comes to the idea that Matt Rhule, and granted, we talked about his record against top competition. You probably won't see any more top ranked competition for Nebraska this season if you look at the schedule, at least until a bowl game or goodness knows, maybe a playoff spot. Who knows? But Nebraska, Baylor, Temple, probably not a lot of gigantic opportunities there to get those top 10 wins, top 20 wins type deals. But you're right. I mean, the record is not great. But what is it really don't get him type thing? Is that kind of the vibe across the Penn State universe?
Well, I think the vibe is to find the biggest fish possible that you can get to bring into this program and try to win a national championship as quickly as possible. Because for Penn State, this was supposed to be the year. Your five-star quarterback comes back, your 2,000 yards backs returns. You bring back most of your defense, and you paid Jim Knowles the most you've ever paid any defensive coordinator in the history of college football, $3 million. Nobody expected this type of season to happen. And for Matt Rhule to come in, he has done a really good job of building up programs. It's taken some time in Nebraska. There was a lot of turmoil at Baylor before he got there that he was able to take them out of. But his last, top 25 win being 2016 while at Temple, working with Pat Kraft, that's something that a lot of Penn State people are comparing to James Franklin being like. And wanting somebody that has that type of experience that can push Penn State over the top, because 1986 was a long time ago up in Happy Valley, the last time that they won a national championship. And a lot of the sentiment is, look, it'd be great to have Matt Rhule, great culture builder, somebody who understands what it's like to be a Nittany Lion. I think that Penn State people just want somebody who ultimately finds what that finish line is, as James Franklin gave a speech in 2018 that they're a great program, but they're not elite. Can Matt Rhule turn Penn State into elite? I think there's a lot of skepticism and doubt.
And to flip it around a little bit, is it realistic that Penn State in 2025 could go out and get, say, maybe not Nick Saban, but somebody like that, somebody on that level? Or do Penn State fans have a little bit of illusions of grandeur? Granted, they were in the semifinals last year, but James Franklin got them there. I mean, can you trust that somebody else, one that's bigger than James Franklin, will want to come to Penn State at this exact moment after watching him get fired? And I mean, Nebraska fans know firsthand, Frank Solich was winning 9 games a year and he got fired years ago. And the same goes for Bo Pelini. He just had, maybe for some people, an attitude problem, but he won games and he got fired, and then they had to restart again.
Well, I think for Penn State people, here's the thing about it. They are putting in $700 million to renovate and revitalize the stadium. They're paying James Franklin $49 million to go away. They paid their coordinators a huge amount of money. Drew Aller, according to On3, is making around $3 million. The resources are there at Penn State. Like, it is arguably a top 10 job. I think it probably is a top 10 job in the country. Is it 10? Possibly, but it's right in that realm. So that's one reason why I think that a coach would want to come here, partly because of that buy-in financially, which is a huge part of college football now with NIL, which Penn State made, like, I think it's 240 million is the number off of football last year. Like a significant amount of money that was overall gross, and a lot of that is being put back into the football program. So I don't think that there would be a concern with the amount of money. Recruiting, this is a hotbed because you're in Pennsylvania. You get a lot of Ohio recruits. You can get a lot of players from Maryland and Virginia. And that's one thing that James Franklin did very well. Sure, recruiting is national now, but it also helps to have players in your backyard. So I do think it's very enticing from that perspective, especially with Matt Rhule being very familiar with the Temple area as well. We know how familiar he is with State College. I think that he would do well in that regard. But if you also get a big time name in, like a Signetti, like an Urban Meyer, Marcus Freeman, which I don't think would happen, don't you think a lot of recruits would want to basically show up and say, oh, okay, so I could get a bag in NIL money and also play for that veteran coach who knows what he's doing, who's been there, done that? That's pretty enticing. It might not be immediate for Penn State, but they should, at least by 26, 27 in that realm, be able to figure it out to be in the playoffs again, if not going deep in them.
Do you have a prediction, maybe, or who you think will end up at Penn State? Because I'm guessing this probably won't get taken care of until the season's over.
No, I think it'll end up being after the playoffs. And based on what I've heard and talking to a lot of people, and I mean, every name that you can imagine has been thrown out there. I think that the three most likely options, not particularly in order, are Curt Cignetti, Joe Brady, and Matt Rhule. I don't think that Matt Rhule will be the first call that Pat Kraft makes. I'm sure that he will make the call and discuss what the frameworks of it would look like. But I also feel like if Penn State decides to hire Matt Rhule and it's not viewed as a big enough splash, the amount of backlash on the AD, Pat Kraft, it's going to be, oh, so you hired your buddy that you've worked with before that you reportedly vacation with. You hired him to be able to fix the job instead of somebody who has significantly higher credentials, like a Signetti leading Indiana to a top 3 ranking in the playoffs last year, or Joe Brady, who had all the success at LSU that he had in the 2020 season with Joe Burrow winning a national championship. So I feel like those are the top 3. Don't count out a wild card. Don't count out Drinkwitz at Missouri or Dan Lanning. I doubt it would leave Oregon, but they're probably going to make the call. They're going to call everybody. Anybody that'll pick up the phone. This is going to be the most enticing job. Florida's very enticing too if it opens up with Billy Napier, but it's the most enticing job available, I think, with the money, the resources, the recruiting, the commitment from student body, attendance. They get 107,000 at every game. There's no denying that. I would say it's probably those 3: Brady, Rhule, Signetti. If it's not one of those 3, maybe Drinkwitz is the 4th. I would be pretty surprised.
And again, I'm not there. You are. My gut tells me Signetti wants to stay at Indiana, but that's just me watching from the outside. I mean, he'll die a legend over there the way he's coaching. And if he goes to
Yeah.
Penn State, he's going to have a lot more scrutiny because it's a whole different situation. Indiana will love everything about him, even if it ends after this year. My other question is that we talked about this will probably go on, like you said, through the playoffs. Nebraska comes to Penn State next to last week of the season, the last home game, senior day for Penn State. Can you paint a picture of what that environment may be like? We don't know what the records of each team are going to be at that point. Penn State's going to go on the road to Iowa. Nebraska is going to be at Minnesota on Friday night. But looking forward, if this is still stirring, what is that Saturday going to be like in State College?
That's a great question because this previous Saturday against Northwestern was probably the most hostile or unfriendly home environment that you could expect with just the amount of booze, the Fire Franklin chants. Now that James Franklin is gone, and a lot of fans thought it was past due at this point, or at least excited about it to just turn over a new leaf. I feel like this game against Nebraska might ultimately have a feeling, at least, of Matt Rhule, you're coaching for either your next job or to stick it to your alma mater on your way to potentially even going to the playoffs. I mean, could Nebraska sneak in? I think there's a possibility of them being able to do that. So the lead up to the game is definitely going to be, okay, what do you do against Matt Rhule, and what's ultimately the response? Does he look around the stadium a little bit and decide, hey, this looks pretty nice, would it be good to come home? It's also going to depend on how does Terry Smith, the interim head coach, who is from Pittsburgh, ultimately coaches up this team. I mean, think about it. They have Iowa on the road at night, not easy. Then they have to go to Ohio State, who's the favorite to win the national championship again. Then Indiana. So you will be playing Kurt Signetti in your building, a potential option to be your next head coach. And then in the final home game, Matt Rhule, a potential option to be your next head coach. I expect the atmosphere to not be like anything you've ever seen before at Penn State, where typically the pom-poms are waving, 107,000 strong going crazy. I think it's going to be an environment of pause, hesitation, conflictedness on what they want. And that's basically the rest of this season for Penn State is playing out to be. It was either national championship or bust. So I don't expect nearly as great of an atmosphere as people would expect.
Interesting. Definitely something to look forward to, and something that maybe Matt Rhule, if he's even considering the Penn State job at this point, might want to keep in mind. Scott Frost came home to where he was a legend. That didn't work out so hot, and now he's back at Central Florida, where I think he's happier. So Matt Rhule might want to think about that before he goes back to Penn State. Not saying the same situation would unfold, but it certainly is something to learn from his predecessor here at Nebraska. Austin Bechtold with the Pomp and Joe Show, 93.7 The Fan, Nittany Sports Now, and all the fantastic Pittsburgh Steelers stuff and Pirate stuff going on in the background there. Jerome Bettis, I am a Notre Dame fan, so I appreciate that as well, on top of being a Steeler fan. So, Austin, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes, and I'll keep enjoying the show from this end.
I appreciate it. Great talking to you. And if you never need anything else down the road, especially if the search heats up, when the search heats up, especially right around December, January, let me know.